You love racing games.
I absolutely love racing games. I always have, even when I was a little kid. I actually even got a racing wheel for Christmas one year because that's just the majority of what I played.
You have played racing games in VR, and they're not very good.
Yeah, they really aren't. They are not special enough for my taste. There are quite a few reasons for that, but as overall experiences, I have been disappointed with racing games in VR thus far.
I have a racing game for you that takes the car out of the racing, and that makes it the best racing game I've played. Hey guys, this is Moriarty, and today we are taking a look at Sprint Vector VR.
And this is Brax, and the idea of taking the car out of it at first makes me think, what am I gonna do? Just have a 40-yard dash? What is this game about?
You're a skater, sort of. Powered skater, as it were, and you're engaged in a 1 out of 8 race to be the fastest, the best, the strongest. There are very special abilities, including a Mario Kart-esque attacking ability, and there's jumping, flying, climbing, all sorts of stuff.
You got me on the first one because my next question was gonna be, can I attack the other players and can I sabotage them while we're racing? And you said I can, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's kind of like roller derby, right?
It's a little roller derby-ish. It's super, super fun, super cool, and unfortunately very simple. There's not a whole lot to say about this game. The only problem I had with the entire thing is how incredibly difficult it is to skip the tutorials when you're in them. Once you're in that tutorial, you're in that tutorial. And it's very difficult to get out of. And sometimes they just don't explain what you're actually trying to do very well. It's not something that you can go into and just begin playing. If I were to put you into this game, if I were to say, Brax, I have this racing game for you. It's really cool. You're going to have a lot of fun. And I stuck you into the headset and gave you the controllers and said, go ahead and do it. You would not go anywhere. You wouldn't know what to do. You'd just stare around and you would lose.
Well, I'm a little confused because you said it's hard to get out of the tutorial, but then at the same time, it sounds like you're saying the tutorial sucks. So,
I'm saying it's hard to get out of the tutorial. The tutorials aren't great, and they're also absolutely necessary. You have to do the tutorials in order to figure out how to play this game. But once you're in a tutorial, if you want to get out of it, good luck. And on top of that, the tutorials themselves don't actually explain stuff in the way that I feel they should. And I came out of it not knowing exactly how to do things, even though they're showing you videos and having people talk to you and all sorts of stuff like that. That's a problem. The tutorials, they kind of suck. So yeah, there's 3 problems with the tutorials.
okay, so the tutorials are weak. I think maybe you could overcome that once you figure out how to play the game properly. Did you have a lot of fun?
It's a blast. It's a super, super blast. You feel like you are really moving quickly, you're doing cool things, you're finding new stuff. And did you ever play Pod Racer?
I did play Pod Racer. You mean the really old one on like N64, I think?
It was also on PC and some other stuff, but yeah, Star Wars Pod Racer. That was, to me, the best racer of all time.
Really?
I loved that game.
A bit of a stretch for me. I do think it was really cool, though. I used to have Star Wars Pod Racer on a Game Boy Color, of all things. That was absolute trash. But yeah, the console versions were actually cool, yeah.
It's the best racer of all time for a couple of reasons for me. First off, you had a bunch of different characters that you could choose to play as that all gave you small little bonuses here and there. You also had shortcuts and things like that that you could do. And you felt like you were moving fast. When you started going through some of the really big maps near the end and you were all fully upgraded, you felt like you were moving really, really quickly. That goes aside from the fact that the AI from that game is basically trash and it always upgrades to the top end immediately, but the core part of the game was a lot of fun, and I really, really liked Pod Racer. This game feels like Pod Racer for those same 3 reasons. You have a bunch of characters, and each one feels a little bit different. You have a bunch of shortcuts in the maps, so you can find one little weird shortcut that's hard to get to, but it saves you 15 seconds on the map. Additionally, when you start moving fast, you feel like you are going fast.
All right, Ricky Bobby, I can get down with that. I do like the feeling of going fast. How do you go fast? Like, in a lot of racing games, you'll be going through the track and you'll hit a booster. And to bring up another Star Wars game, like, I remember those weird little races in Knights of the Old Republic, and it was all about these speed bumpers. Is that sort of thing present in this game that really makes you feel that boost, if you know what I mean? Like, you'll be going, and then all of a sudden you feel like, whoa, now I'm really going.
There's boosts, there's power-ups, there's so much stuff, and something about being in first person and actually being in a body as opposed to a car, going to kind of the Doom mentality of actually seeing your hands, it makes it more immersive than ever before. You start getting in there and feeling like you are moving quick. And I feel like if you were in a car or if you were in a spaceship, this game wouldn't feel as cool as it does. It's very much about the fact that you are the one who's doing it.
I totally get that. The feeling of being in the cockpit in the VR racing games that we were referencing earlier is one of the most disappointing points of it. And I'm the type of guy, when I play racers, I do switch to a first-person view sometimes, especially if it's a track that requires a lot of cornering and stuff. I like to be able to see everything around me in a way that's really close, and it makes everything easy to see, which of course is unrealistic. In real life, that's not what it feels like, right? You're sitting in the driver's seat, so you don't really feel that way. But I do enjoy the idea of having a racing game like this being in first person, because it doesn't make it unrealistic. If you're skating, this is really kind of what things look like. You look around and you see the world around you and you see your hands in front of you. Whereas with car games, you are limited by that forced feeling of being in the cockpit, especially in the VR modes. So yeah, I like that. I would love to experience what I typically do in non-VR racing games, which is go first person, but do it in VR. I think that's neat.
I will tell you that one of the other things that makes it so incredibly immersive, because VR is the most immersive medium that we've ever had, and most games don't really take advantage of that. Like Moss, for example, doesn't really immerse you in the world of Moss, because you're not Moss, you're looking at Moss. It's a good game, and we talked about it last Friday. If you want to take a look at that, you can, but with this, you feel even more immersed because it is your hands that are moving up and down in front of you, because the movement to run is the movement to run.
I have said this many times. I do prefer, for one, standing experiences in VR. I like the experiences that require me to use the Move controllers, which is something we have to deal with as PSVR owners. And I like the ones that actually make me feel involved. I don't like to sit down and just click on stuff or have stuff come at me. I kind of like feeling like I'm the one that's controlling the world around me, and I'm the one that is actually moving through this world. This game looks like it is very immersive in this way. It looks like it's very active. It looks like a physical experience, and all of those things are very important to me when I play VR games, simply because I think that is the true potential of it. Why would I have a 3D immersive world if I'm going to just be basically sitting down and looking at stuff around me? I like to do stuff. I like Spark because it's an active experience. This looks like it's very active as well, and that's very impressive.
That's kind of it, though. Like, I would love to say more about it, but this is really the long and the short of this game. It's a good racing game. It's available on both Steam VR and PSVR, so you can actually go play this and pick it up with your moves and experience that. And it's good. It's fun. It's $29.99 on both. I think that is very fair, but on the top end of fair, if that makes sense.
I just mentioned Spark. It was the same price. I did feel a little hesitant about purchasing it, but after I did, I was really satisfied because it did give me the capability to move around, use my hands, and really feel like I was doing some really nice, cool VR stuff. This looks like it will let me do the same thing, so I think I would actually pay $30 for it, even though that's a little high for my taste normally when it comes to these VR games. I'd still be willing to pay it.
One of the things that I think you're going to enjoy about this game, and it actually kind of relates a little bit to Spark, is that this is a game from a very well-known game company whose name I always have trouble with. It's either Servios or Servios, and I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but you'll know them as the developer of Raw Data, probably one of the highest-rated VR games of all time.
It's always a plus when a developer has not only experience, but has already proven that they can create really good VR things, because making a VR game is totally different than making other games, right? And now that you say that they already have the experience under their belt and have also shown that not only can they make a VR game, they can make a good one, that makes me want this even more.
Raw Data is that game that people tell you when you first start playing VR, that's the game you need to get. It's got co-op, it has multiplayer, it has online, it's cross-platform, it's got PvP, single player, everything. This also has all of that. It has single player, multiplayer, and cross-platform multiplayer. Now, as far as I understand, the cross-platform at the moment is Vive and Oculus. Then the PSVR is its own separate silo. But I can't imagine that they won't eventually cross-platform that, so that you will have a much larger user base, which is important in these kind of games, especially a racing game. The last thing you want to do is get into a race and it's one guy and 6 bots.
Absolutely. Racing is about competition. That's really what makes me passionate about it. Racing against AIs doesn't give you the same level of satisfaction as it does racing against another human. So I hope they do cross-platform this at some point. But even now, there's probably enough people on the PSVR servers to play with, because I say this all the time, right? There's not that many games to play on PSVR right now. And I'm sure because of that, lots of people have already picked this one up. And it probably has a pretty active player base on that platform. Either way, I would like to see it cross-platformed at some point, but the potential to race with other people is still there. Sounds good to me.
This is a super cool game. I absolutely recommend it. You should go pick it up. You should try it out. It's super, super cool. Sprint Vector was recommended to us. If you have a game that you'd like to recommend, leave it down in the comments below or in any comment. Really, we look at them all. Every single comment, we look at them. We look at them all. Maybe not Brax, but that's because he's asleep.
I look at them twice, okay?
If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and share it. And if you didn't, then don't do either of those. But if you did, you can watch another video up there in the corner right now. And as always.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was asleep. We'll see you guys on the next one.